The True You podcast is all about tapping into the resources of the true you.
Problem with trying to be someone else who you think you need to be to get by and get more is that you have to try harder than you need to in life.
And that's exhausting because you've lost access to resources like creativity, clarity, compassion, and confidence.
We recognize it seems odd to discover that you aren't being the true you, but there's an empowering homecoming that you can feel when you rest back into your authentic self, the true you.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the True You podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Martin Kettlehut, and Marty's a leadership coach and an author. He's written a couple of great books. You can find notes about those in the show notes. My name is Bill Tierney. I'm a certified IFS practitioner and a compassionate results coach. And today we have back with us, for the first time on the True You podcast, but from episode 12 of the Leadership Coaching Podcast, Laurie Chancey. And Laurie, when she joined us for the Leadership Coaching Podcast, talked with us about choice and true self. So here we are back again in the True You podcast. We get an opportunity to pick up where we left off, and it's been at least a year. I don't have a date on that. Do you recall how long it's been? About a year?
Year and a half, something like that.
Yeah, it's been at least a year since we've talked. Let me go ahead and introduce you for those that didn't get a chance to be introduced to you from a year and a half ago when we spoke first. Laurie is a level 2 internal family systems IFS practitioner. Level 2, what that means is she's been trained to 2 levels of IFS by the IFS Institute. And I'm sure Laurie's got all kinds of training besides that, but that's what's significant when it comes to IFS. She owns Laurie Chancey Coaching. She is the administrative director and teacher of the Concrescence Institute, which I really hope that we'll talk about by the end of this conversation today. Previously, she was a sociology professor for a community college. She has an MA in sociology. She's from Louisiana. You might hear a little bit of that in her drawl, maybe a little bit left in there. And she lives in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. No, you don't hear it.
Not much.
Well, let's dig in. Welcome back, Laurie.
Thank you so much. It's good to be back with the two of you. I so enjoyed our first conversation, and my hair has grown, and I'm looking forward to what we're talking about, whatever it is.
It's not gotten any grayer, has it? Your hair?
Probably. I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, it's a slightly different look. I like it. Longer hair. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you and I haven't connected nearly as much in this past year and a half as we were connecting prior to our connection in the Leadership Coaching Podcast. So let's dig in.
Yeah.
You would like to talk, and we would love to hear about your journey into spiritual IFS work.
Especially as it relates to this journey we're all on to coming home to our true self.
Yeah.
So journey, where does this journey begin for you, Laurie?
Oh, parts like, well, I was born in that. Yeah. So I've been on my IFS healing journey and recovery journey for about 5 years now. And so that was sort of the formal opening of the healing journey, even though I realize I have been on one for a long time. One of my first hangups with IFS was that they couldn't stop using the word body. That classic IFS question, like, where do you find that part in or around your body? Like, the parts have to let you know how they feel about that by altering my affect there. Because what would happen when my first IFS therapist would ask me, like, where do you feel that in or around your body? There would be the sense of a part looking down at the body, not getting anything, then frustrated, then I'm doing it wrong. Shame, or she's doing this wrong. Angry. And shutting it down, and sometimes even not speaking to the shutdown and trying to fake it. Like the whole part storm just around the word body. So we agreed that she was not going to use the B word. And for a couple of years, her and anyone else I practiced with, I also got an IFS practitioner in addition to the therapist later. And they all knew, do not use that word. Eventually, and my parts appreciated me honoring that. Right? Because I could do great work through visuals, through I would see my parts, hear my parts, and I would see them like around out here. And outside of me. Yeah. So I could locate them like out here or something, but not in there. And parts would say, we don't have a body. We don't have a body. What are you talking about? And then the right answer was, of course, yes. Yeah, you don't have a body. That's great. Now let's move through something. Eventually got curiosity toward the parts that were locking down the body and started working with them because like self energy respects a no from parts, but also moves towards healing. And it's very clear that, okay, if the word body is causing such an activation in me, then let's go toward what does have an opening. But eventually there was an opening, and I started actively holding that intention in IFS sessions and psychedelic sessions, like, heal my body, please, heal my body. Well, that led to a process of me redoing my own birth. I was born through C-section, and there were parts that were holding trauma around that from something that, like, from their story was like, we don't exactly know what was supposed to happen, but we know that wasn't it. So they needed a redo of that. And then the very next thing was, boom, past life. A past life burden. I was like, okay. So I start working with the past lives. I start working with the spiritual stuff because it's just coming up, just like a part in the body, or just like a part in here comes up. A past life part can come up too.
So just for a second. So there was truth to the parts that said this isn't about the body, because they were referring to a past life, a disembodied.
In some sense, yes. What feels most true for me is that the trauma in my body that was being held in my energetic system from the past lives was so intense that my system held off body awareness until I had the capacity to deal with the past life stuff.
I see. Okay.
So
it wasn't because it was past life. It was because it was too intense.
Exactly. And that's when parts come up and stop us and say, no. Like, no, you cannot pass yet. You still have a hero's journey to do before I let you through this gate.
Okay, I'll let you continue on your journey.
Thank you, though. I had talked for quite some time, and it's like, oh yes, someone come in and reel me in. But I am getting to
before you resume, there was something I want to clarify too, for the listener who's not as familiar with the internal family systems model. Parts, we all have parts. It's normal to have parts. It doesn't mean we're crazy or insane or have any kind of pathology or mental illness that we have parts. The IFS model helps us to discern what influence each of our parts are having on us, and then actually build relationships with them. That teaches us how to have conversations, build relationships with our parts, and form alliances and friendships with them, and work together with them. And the way we're able to do that is from what IFS refers to as self, capital S, and the energy that shows up when in the presence of self is referred to as self energy, and that's the energy that helps heal the system, and apparently can help heal past lives too, huh?
It can, with some assistance, because I know leadership is a big thing for y'all, right? And self leadership is good for inside my own system.
Mhm.
And if I'm dealing with something that's outside my body, I need a different form of self energy, which can come from a higher being. Um, Whatever any spiritual beliefs anyone has, insert that in here. Ask God to help, source, universe, Buddha, Jesus, a kindly healed ancestor, somebody who's outside, because I don't have authority over outside my body. It's a different department.
Mhm.
So self energy can like recognize there's a past life who needs help, but needs to call in someone else to help with it.
Laurie, you mentioned that it sounds like your journey began in the IFS. The IFS journey began with some difficulties around reference to the body
Yes.
because some things had happened where your parts had shut down your connection with body. Am I tracking accurately?
Yeah.
And as you began to do that particular work and bring yourself into energy to that with the help and support of the practitioners that you were working with, then something happened and introduced you to past lives. And this is also having to do with rebirth. So I kind of,
Mhm.
not rebirth, but redoing your birth.
Yeah.
So yeah, could we pick up there maybe?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, what is blocking my access to my body? Well, I needed to go through the rebirth process and I need to be with past lives around that. How we notice a part is to notice a feeling, thought, belief, sensation, and so on. After I did the rebirth thing and started working with some past lives, I started noticing that the responses my system was having didn't make sense for the particular situation. And not in a, it happened, not like, well, let me just explain. So a lot of this has happened at the gym, a big site for working out the body, of course.
Mhm. Mhm.
Once at the gym, I started noticing that I felt more and more upset with every workout machine that I used. Like started getting panicky and anxious, upset, and I'm like, am I about to cry at the gym? Like what, what is this?
Mhm.
And as I kind of asked into like what's going on right now, I started getting visuals of my fingers getting snapped off by the gym equipment.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, this isn't whatever you're holding, this isn't happening right now. My fingers are not in danger of getting snapped off in this machine. Is it okay for me to stay here or do I need to go home?
Mhm.
And I kind of breathed with it for a little bit and I heard like, go home. So I go home and I like settle into meditation. I'm like, what is this? Well, it's a past life part of me who died after an accident in a factory. He was 10 years old. It was about in industrial, I don't know, either America or Europe or something like that. And, child labor. And so he got his fingers stuck in a machine and he lost his fingers,
Yeah.
lost his ability to work, and ended up kind of dying early after abusing alcohol.
Yeah.
And that's why I was getting upset at the gym.
Yeah.
So as soon as I find him, I help him, he settles. Um, and then I can use an exercise machine without worrying my fingers are going to snap off. So,
You help him.
huh? How
How'd you help him?
Well, he's outside of my body, even though he's like communicating with it, he's hooked in. So I asked one of my guides to come in and help him. And so that's calling in the self energy that's
I see.
appropriate for him. That's That's not really my department. I can intention and ask a guide to go to him, but that's how we help. And then he got clean and settled down.
Yeah. So I really am interested in knowing more about this. Do you mind if I ask you a couple more questions related to this?
Yeah, come on.
Okay. So I guess the question that's top of my mind is this your past life? Is this an energy or a personality or person from your past life, or a past life that somehow has merged with you?
He was me. That's something I ask the guides. And I also can ask him directly. I get a sense of that. I mean, he's settled since then. But yeah, that was my past life. I have had experiences where things that were not me also attached and deal with them in the same way.
Yeah. Right. In the same way, meaning with compassion, curiosity, and love.
Yeah. All of that for me and calling in a guide.
Mm-hmm. How did you learn you had guides?
Well, a few months into IFS work, I found this meditation to like connect with your guides. And I was like, cool, I could use some guidance. And I did the meditation. And my grandfather came in and gave me a gift. And he has stayed with me since then. He died the year before I got on my IFS journey. And, Papa hangs out and helps with stuff. And then I, as I've gotten more into the consciousness medicine world and some shamanic practices, that is all about like nourishing connection with guides. And so I've been able to deepen my relationship with them. I am taking classes in applied shamanism, and the whole point is like journeying to guides and building relationships with guides. And so I essentially, my experience was I asked and they showed up.
Wow. And you asked because you ran across some book that introduced you to the possibility of it.
Yeah.
And you thought you used some guidance.
Yeah.
You remember the name of the book?
Oh, it was Tom Holmes and Tom and Laurie Holmes, actually, the parts work book. It's the one with all of those cool illustrations that the interactive cards look like that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the last chapter, that meditation opened it up for me.
In parts work or in that book? In
the book. Yeah.
Yeah, that you read. Okay, by Tom Holmes. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll make sure that Ari gets that in show notes. So please continue. Marty, do you have some questions or anything that you have for Laurie?
Not yet. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just see if you can get into flow before I interrupt you again.
Yeah, let me quite get there. Let me see what seems essential about this, so I'm not just like storytelling all over the place. On the way to access to my body, to being able to feel energy shifts in my body, to have somatic awareness, ooh, I went blank. Why did I go blank? Hello, blanking part.
I have a part that wants to jump in and help, but I'm good with just leaving you to.
And I have a part who wants to take responsibility because my attention went away for a second. And that might have been the blankness.
Oh, I'm noticing all your responses to my blankness. Thank you. Yeah, just like the blankness of the body, the blankness of the mind. So it was my past death. That was the thing that they blanked out. The energy of my past deaths were very much blocking my body access. And that's why my protectors needed to shut down body access, because the stuff I witnessed about how I've died before was hardcore, super traumatic. Right? My soul is old as hell. Apparently, I've died in a lot of different ways, and I had to witness some of those. And after I did that, I now have somatic awareness.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm genuinely grateful to my protectors who shut down body awareness, because witnessing apart from this life is witnessing a trauma that I lived through. Witnessing past deaths, those are traumas that I did not live through. They are much worse. So it's like one of my messages here is about respecting the wisdom of a protector who says, do not pass, do not go here. Because the door will open when there's enough capacity and trust.
So that was the work that you did, was bring compassion and trust.
Yeah. Compassion and trust to my system, and not push it past anything it didn't want to do. Just deal with whatever's on top. And then keep going and notice what support is needed. Is it self-energy? Is it another person? Is it a guide?
And so those parts of you that had witnessed horrible deaths in the past, did they, how did they come to let you have somatic experience back? What shifted?
Well, what happens with that is that the idea goes, and this is some of the stuff that I'm learning through Jennifer Baldwin's mentorship at Concrescence, is that there is an energetic field that goes along with the soul. And there are traumas that can get embedded in the energetic field and duplicate themselves in the next life. Bob Falconer talks about studies that show that, like, to prove reincarnation, to show that sometimes people have birthmarks that correspond with their death wounds in past lives. So there's an energetic imprint that carries through multiple lives, and it will just keep carrying through until we get to a life where somebody can actually intention healing for it, like find it, call a guide to it, and do it. And then it can loosen up. So my lack of body awareness was somewhat like, you're gonna have to witness all this gory stuff to undo the energetic pattern under this, and that is what's clogging your body. So that kind of thing.
So how does it feel to be back in your body?
I don't know about back. I was never in my body in this life until about 6 months ago. But it's great. It's like there's feelings in here. It's like there's energy shifts. You know, it always made sense to the thinky parts. Like there's a bunch of stuff going on down there. We just can't feel any of it. But it's lovely to feel energy inside. Like one of the pieces of this journey was I'd just taken before somatic awareness was open, I took this vigorous walk and I was like sweaty and tired, and I just felt worse the more I walked. And I checked in with my system and I saw this like cloud in front of me, and I asked, what is that? And I hear like, that's your endorphins. We're not letting them into your system because then you will feel good. Then you will think exercise is not dangerous. And if you think that, then horrible things are going to happen. So lots of protection against that. But awareness in my body has opened up so many more, just a new level of work. Now I can detect parts or past lives or ghosts or whatever. And that's
sensations in the body.
Yeah. I had a whole week recently of extreme digestive distress. No matter what I ate, cramps, like it was awful. After about a week of this, I remember saying in the morning, like, it doesn't matter what I eat, nothing helps. And then I went into an IFS therapy session later that morning, and I sent curiosity to the gut. And there was a very, very angry dead guy in there whose stomach hurt really bad. It wasn't me, but he was in because he was angry at my light, and he was poking my digestive system so I would feel as bad as he did. And
How do you get in there?
well, he's connected to a group of people that I'm connected to. And I just spent time with that group of people. And that's how he got in, of my connection to that group. He's following it. And my sense is that my inner light is somehow he perceived enough of it as a threat, and my connection with that group gave him a way in. There's always, they always have to have a way to get in. So there was something that was yet unhealed or unprotected in me that invited that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so did you invite him to leave?
Yeah. I called in a guide, sent him on his way. And so he got some compassionate healing. And my stomach instantly felt better.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, that's what it was. And I reflect, like, what if my manager parts, my problem solving parts, had just focused on the gut issue as something physiological? And it's like, okay, now we got to restrict our diet and we got to do this. Meanwhile, the angry ghost in my gut would be like, hey. And thinking about the chronic inflammation that would have caused, like, how soon would that have turned into IBS or stomach cancer?
Right.
That's what happens when something is inside trying to get attention and it doesn't get that attention. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper until it can cause a symptom that gets it attention.
Laurie, do you work with clients that in this way that you're describing, that you work with yourself?
Yes.
You help them to get in touch with guides?
Yes. If they're inquiring about that, if they're ready for that, absolutely. And it's really, of course, the blockages to that are parts who need to be skeptical about it, or who are saying it's dangerous to ask for help. All of those sorts of things. And parts who are hoping for guides, like, that needs to be settled before inviting them in. Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely help clients with all of the things that I'm describing here as far as my personal work, as that's one of the things that I've been shown over and over again, that I can't walk somebody else down a path that I haven't already walked on. And so this, I get healed, and that prepares me to help heal other people.
Well, what inspired my question is that I meet a lot of people who are experiencing chronic health issues. And as they're listening to you describe what you experienced with the ghost in your gut, I'm guessing that they're wondering, well, do I have a ghost in my gut, or do I have a ghost in my immune system, or my back, or in my head, where all these headaches are happening? And so you're not the only person on the planet that's doing this, though, right? Is there if someone wanted to find someone to help in this particular way, there's you, and help. Where else would they look?
Well, I mean, the IFS model essentially does address how to deal with health issues. Like in the level 1 training, one of the kind of the first article that they show us is the first one that made IFS evidence-based, which is how good it is at treating rheumatoid arthritis. And so the training teaches us how to be with physical somatic symptoms, how to send curiosity there and find what's next. So any IFS person perhaps could be able to deal with this. That would be a question to interview your potential practitioner. If folks are looking for help around the spiritual side of things, around guides, like, what if I have a ghost in my gut? And there's not a lot of there's not as many practitioners and therapists in the IFS world who have gone that way, who are comfortable with that. A key word to look for is like spirituality, spiritual IFS.
And I have run across that in my practice as well. And I've got a couple of cases where, when you think about addiction is a great example of this, where someone is in an addictive process and has tried 12-step and it hasn't worked. And we get curious about their parts, and now their internal system shifts, and the whatever the addictive act or process or behavior or substance is no longer seems to be needed. And it's shocking, really, when in a world where we go to war against addiction, for example, to approach it with compassion and consider that we might have parts. Another example is a woman who had a growth like in the back of her throat, and was getting ready to go into surgery, and had one more pre-op with her doctor. And after we had done some work and gotten to know the part that had put that lump there, they couldn't find it anymore. That was just like after one session. It was incredible.
Wow.
I continued to check with her. It's been a year since then, and it's not back. Are you in a profession that helps people discover, cultivate, and express their true selves? Are you a coach, a therapist, a spiritual leader, a health professional, scientist, writer, speaker, or other specialist that recognizes the power and value of authenticity? Would you like to be a guest on our podcast? We're looking for guests to bring on the show to expand this exploration of the true you. You'll find a link in the show notes to use to introduce yourself and start that conversation.
Wow. Great work.
So here's I got a part that's saying, okay, be careful. We're not telling people not to go to doctors. We're not telling people that we can do. But yeah, go to your doctor and get curious about the parts of you that might have something to say.
Well, and I think a general lesson that I'm coming away from these conversations was that our true self, the true you, to use the actual words of the podcast, includes your body. It includes your past before this life and those interactions, those traumas that are still, I don't want to say encrusted in your soul. It includes guides that you can call in and employ. So are there any other major categories? If I want to know the true me, I have to take all these into account. I can't just say, oh, I'm only a spiritual being, or I'm only a body. Like there are these levels to the true you.
Mm. Yeah, the true you has a physical presence and a spiritual, energetic presence.
Mm-hmm.
A guide is not you.
Mm-hmm.
A guide has their own true you, true them.
Got it. Okay.
But the true you can be connected to guides, just as the true you is connected to Bill's true you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's one of my guides.
Ah.
Yeah. So got it. So the true you has access to guides. They have their own true selves.
Yes.
Okay.
In a way, the past lives also have their own true you-ness, but there's a through line of a soul that we share, of an energetic pattern that we share.
I see. Okay. So then there's this shared soul as well.
Yeah. And to complicate things further, the ancestry lines.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was just going to ask you about that. Tell me more about that.
So I am an incarnation at the intersection of my soul line, my maternal ancestry, and my paternal ancestry. So those provided my DNA, and there's spiritual connections there, but that's a spiritual and biological connection. Mm-hmm. And then there's a spiritual connection on the soul line. So I'm at the intersection of all those in this current incarnation in this human body.
And tell me how you know about that. How have you learned?
Good question. Because I have seen it and experienced it. I did not believe, and well, I have this thing of like, I always believe what other people tell me if it feels like they're speaking their truth, and I can be like, okay, well, that's true for you.
Yeah.
For me, I don't internally believe anything until I experience it. And when I knew past lives were real was when my first one showed up. So it's kind of like investigating my system. You know, if a part tells me who they are, I believe them. If past life tells me who they are, I believe them. So it's that in IFS we often say just ask. And you can receive an answer, and it's the truth. My skeptical part has had quite a journey with this. He has been invited to sit and watch because I find that he and many other skeptic parts really respect evidence. And so he's absolutely been welcome. He has been protecting me from getting fooled again. It's like, excellent. We don't want to do that. He's protected me from like, oh my God, what if all this supernatural stuff is real? No, it's not real. Too scary, too scary, too scary. And so he's needed to hang out and watch while a bunch of spiritual stuff has happened until he finally realized and got an unburdening and finally realized, hey, this is actually real and we're safe.
Your skeptical part had a combination of witnessing firsthand evidence that some of this far out stuff is real, and it helped that the skeptical part, who you refer to as in masculine gender, he had an unburdening. Are you willing to share about that?
Yeah. So it took him a long time to be okay with me like really talking to him. He had to watch a lot of stuff first, but he at that time, well, he went by the name Doug the Doubter. So my skeptical part, his name was Doug. He wore a wizard's robe, and he would throw a ball of confusion and doubt everything. And one time I was talking to him, and he sort of let me peek in the folds on the side of his robe, and he was hiding a little 10-year-old boy, part of me there. And he's like, all right, no more. And then, well, thank you for that peek, Doug. And then eventually he let me be with the little boy, and the little boy was me at 10, so terrified of the nightmares. I would have these horrible nightmares, night terrors, just awful, wake up several times a night. And so that's when Doug came online to say, none of this supernatural scary stuff is real. And he had to do that to protect the little boy from being so scared.
This isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. And that was a protection. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you helped the little boy how?
Well, I held him, and I got Doug's permission to hold him. And I did this during a ketamine session. And so it went perhaps a little deeper than, and maybe a little easier than in regular consciousness. But I held the boy, and I got the sense that there was like a ghost generating machine or a UB generating machine, like throwing them at me. Kind of like, when you're in the batting cage and that machine like throws the ball at you. It was like that, except there were ghosts. So I was like, oh, here's this like scary old woman's face, and I don't recognize her. Oh, let me do my protocol for releasing UBs. Okay, poof, she's gone. And the little boy gets a little more confident. And then something else weird comes in. All right, UB release protocol. Poof, okay. Oh, a little more.
UB, by the way, stands for unattached burden. You fall into the ghost.
Yeah.
It's foreign energies that don't belong in your system, yes?
Yeah. It's a suffering spirit who is trying to find relief, but gets attacked.
So these night terrors were they visits from your past? Were they memories of your past deaths?
Well, I kind of think maybe that they were, or me sensing something in the spirit realm, and because I've noticed that that if there are things like that around, then they will kind of poke my fear to get my attention. And so learning to turn toward, I could do that after I unburned that little boy. Learning to turn toward any fear just alerted me that there's something around that is not beneficial.
So the unburdening for this little boy was that he got what he needed back then. And it sounds like what he needed was someone to be with him and not to be alone with those night terrors.
Exactly. And to protect him, to hold him, and to push the thing away. And he ended up saying, it's real and I'm safe. It's so he needed to know that, well, that supernatural stuff is real. And Laurie can protect me. And Laurie's guides protect Laurie. Real and safe.
Yeah, I really want to stay here for a minute if we could.
Yeah.
For those that are familiar with the IFS model, especially practitioners, when it comes to unburdening, often it seems like there's just what occurs to me as a superficial ritual that is performed, and we hope that will suffice to unburden the part. It won't. I just want to say that it will not, unless the part is really witnessed for what it needed, what it experienced, what it made it need, the pain it endured and experienced, and it continues to hold until it's completely witnessed, validated, understood, appreciated, understood, efficient way, the part choice. It's hanging onto this burden because the system couldn't handle it at the time that it took on the burden in the first place. And it's been left holding the bag ever since. So when we come back to help these parts unburden, we have to actually help them. We have to actually address what was real for them, even if it's so bizarre that it doesn't make sense to us. We continue to persist until it does. It's only then will the part feel understood. How could we possibly feel understood if the person that's listening, like if I'm the part and I've got this crazy secret that nobody will let me tell, and I'm alone with it and have been for the last 60 years, let's say, and now somebody finally shows up claiming to be self, or to be self-led or self-energized and here to help from the future. Oh yeah, you think that's crazy? Listen to this. I've got a story to tell too. So as that exiled burden, I want to be heard, understood, and appreciated for the dilemma that I've been staked with for all of these years before I have any interest at all in getting an update or watching your magical powers. Boy, a part of me is so delighted that I said this out loud and had it recorded. It's a frustration for me. It's a frustration to as a client to go into sessions and be told that I've been unburdened and not feel any different. Like, oh, really? That was
unburdening.
I know way.
Question. Sorry. Beg your pardon.
I just want to let me wrap it up by saying I know what it feels like to be unburdened. I no longer am holding the painful memories, the painful meaning making, and the emotions related to all of that. The aloneness, for example, the rage, the fear, the shame. Mostly it boils down to shame. What is wrong with me that I'm just so unacceptable to the world that I have to be hidden away, that I have to be so managed? That seems to be for my exiles essentially the same common chorus that's sung once I get to them. Until I really, really witness and get them, they remain burdened. Right. You were going to ask something, Marty. I think I'm complete with expression. That expression.
Yeah. So, what do you guys say to somebody who says, "Well, gosh, I've done a lot of IFS, but I've never seen wizards and ghosts and stuff"? Like, am I missing some parts, or should I read different novels? Like, where do I get those images?
Well,
you answer that, Laura.
Every system is unique. My system partially because of the lack of body access, express itself super visually. Right? That's how the parts could be seen. Well, literally seen, right? So if we don't have access to body awareness, we're going to put a lot of energy into this visual thing. And not everybody needs to be with their past lives. Not everybody has.
People last for that, right?
What was that?
This may not be the lifetime for that. This lifetime might be for something else.
That's true. And maybe you are a young soul, haven't been through a lot yet. Or maybe your past lives were so good that you're not carrying any burdens from them, or if you do, they're negligible. So this is a territory that absolutely not everyone needs to go. I just found that it was the next step for me. I wasn't going and seeking like, I need to go connect to the blah, blah, blah. No, I was just like, I am anxious and depressed and my body is a blank sack of concrete. Like, what? Help me, but starting from there and just dealing with whatever came up, just, for me, has led there. So,
got it. Yeah. So different people will be led in different directions, or different, they'll need maybe different ways of connecting with it, like you said, visual versus something else. So there's nothing, everybody's got their own path, their own parts.
Indeed. And it's interesting that there's a lot of kind of lean towards visual in some of the standard IFS questions, like how do you see the part? Does it have a color or something like that? But Dick Schwartz, the founder of IFS, doesn't see his parts. He doesn't have visual awareness of his parts.
Interesting.
And so it's almost like we're the opposite. Dick Schwartz has never been visual, and I was never somatic. I did open that up, but not everyone's path.
Got it.
Yeah. So what I would say about that is I opened up somatic awareness by making it okay to not have somatic awareness.
Interesting. Very, very key. Yeah.
So however the system is communicating, make that okay and be with that.
And however it doesn't want to, or just doesn't, Yeah, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, there's no trying. There's no efforting in IFS.
Beautiful.
We need to hang out with trying parts.
I want to ask you, so we've got probably maximum 10 minutes left here. And I want to ask you about the training that you're doing with Concrescence. We don't really have enough time about the other to talk more about the other topic, which is, you mentioned ketamine. I'm really interested in talking a lot more about that, MDMA, ayahuasca, ketamine, and so many other things that people are using to access their internal worlds. Can maybe take a few minutes with that? You mentioned that you used ketamine for a particular journey that you were on, or exploration. Yeah. So I guess here's my interest. Is it legal now? It used to be like hush hush, nobody ever talked about it, and now all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. That's not everybody, but a lot of people in the IFS community are talking about it. Tell me what you can about this, please.
It's legal with a prescription, and a lot of folks are getting mail order prescriptions from different companies. I get mine from a local psychiatrist who have also partnered with to offer ketamine to my clients. I just recently got ketamine IFS certified through Concrescence, and it's like, come to Concrescence Institute and we will teach you all about IFS and consciousness medicines. So I'm wondering what your curiosity is. Like, just talk about it. Like, well, what do you want to know?
Well, actually, there is a concern. There's a part that has concerns about this. As a practitioner, I am concerned. Now I haven't done it at all myself, but given the reports that I've gotten from clients that have used something to enhance their experience, my concern is that I wonder if protectors. This is going to be a crude way to say this, but I'm wondering if protectors aren't drugged so that they don't protect, and you get access to parts that you would otherwise wouldn't get access to, and that's a dishonoring and a disrespect to the internal system that is going to have some backlash. That's it.
Yeah, great concern. So before I would give you ketamine, we would spend a few weeks or months being what that part's concerned. And as I've been mentored by Jennifer through Concrescence, it's like you do the IFS work beforehand so that the journey takes you to where you want to go and doesn't bypass anyone.
Okay, so it's like you go into that journey with the assistance of the chemical drug, or how do you refer to it? The medicine, with permission of all of the protectors have an opportunity to voice their concerns and worries and fears.
Yes.
Before you would do that. Very good. I love that answer.
And my first journey was like putting protectors in front who were like, what is this? What is it going to do? Is it going to make us crazy? What, like, are we going to become addicted to this? Like all of the protector concerns. It's like, okay, well, let's take the medicine with you. And so you can have my self energy while you notice the effects of the medicine.
Very nice. I'm so glad I asked that question. What I'm noticing, and you picked up on it when you were asking me why I did ask the question, was that I have parts that were concerned. I didn't realize that at first when I first started asking. There seems to be an interest, but it's not like the curiosity, self-energized interest that I want to use in exploration. And I didn't know that until you asked, and then I recognized, oh, there's a part that had a concern here, and here's what it is.
Yeah.
And I've never asked it before. I certainly haven't asked it being recorded in the podcast, and now I have, and I'm so glad I did, because I love what I just learned.
Right. Yeah, consent matters, and the idea is not to bypass anyone. And so it's also good to be curious if parts are really like gung-ho about ketamine, like, whoa, I got to do this. This is going to help me get to all my exiles. I need to unburden the whole system. Like that's, if that part is leading, then that's where we get into bypass territory. That's where there's repair to do afterward, because parts absolutely can feel slighted.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, Marty, what's on your mind? Any questions that you have that you'd like to have answered before we lose Laurie? I'm not going to lose her, but I mean, we're going to run out of time.
No, this has all been very fascinating. I've got lots to think about.
Laurie, tell me about Concrescence. Listeners have heard you referred to it a couple of times, and I also referred to it. Concrescence Institute.
Yes.
And concrescence is a word that means something. What does it mean?
Yeah. Concrescence is a moment when something completes. And you can see it in our logo of like a spiral around and then something going up and down. When a moment fully completes, it concresces and settles. And that's the idea of healing in the system. Like, where, Bill, you were talking earlier about I need to witness the part that is stuck in that past experience to unburden it. The witnessing is like a missing piece of that moment. We need the whole story to be told before it can complete, have its concrescence moment, and settle into the system.
Thank you for that. All right. So tell me about the program.
Yeah. So I'm a business partner with Jennifer Baldwin, and it is her like life project and brainchild from so many different areas of experience. She's a level 3 certified IFS therapist and among many other things. And we do work on training people on practices in the inner world so IFS and related modalities, and consciousness medicines. And so we have currently we have running fundamentals of the inner world, which is immaterial level 1 equivalent. And we have consultation groups for people. We have a ketamine IFS consultation group, somatic IFS, and just a regular deepen from where you are consultation group. We've got trainings on ketamine coming up. There's going to be a new one that's not on the books yet. And we have the flagship program, the Heart of Healing year-long psychedelic apprenticeship, IFS and psychedelic apprenticeship program. And so
Who should
yeah.
consider Concrescence, the Concrescence program? Are these people that are already trained in the IFS model and want to expand into these different areas that you just listed?
Well, if you're already trained, you absolutely can jump on in. And trained through any avenue. It's not only level 1, but there's a lot of other good trainings that supply that area of knowledge. If you don't have the IFS training, you can take our fundamentals course and get up to speed on that.
So anybody that wants to learn about IFS and use it in their own practice to help other people, would that be appropriate for them?
Exactly. Yeah. People who are using it a bit beyond personal practice, people are using it for others in a coach capacity, therapist capacity, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, the name of the program is, it's the Concrescence Institute. And then you have several programs. And the website for Concrescence Institute is what?
Concrescenceinstitute.com.
Concrescence, CONCRESCENCE, and check show notes.
Yeah.
Okay, Laurie, anything else that you want our listening audience to know, or me or Marty to know before we say goodbye?
Well, stay tuned. I've got some ideas for groups that I'm getting ready to launch. I'm shooting some YouTube videos, getting ready to put stuff on my channel. And so look for new material soon. Also,
Be sure to get those links to us.
Yeah, will do. And also I got accepted to level 3, and I'm taking that in August. So leveling up.
Who's the trainer?
Seaside.
Who's the trainer for the seats? Oh, lucky girl.
People say that.
Okay, Laurie, thanks. So great to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate y'all.
Good to see you. Bye.
We appreciate who you are, that you would be listening to this podcast, and want to acknowledge all those parts of you that yearn for the experience of the true you.
If you like this episode, click like, share it with others, and be sure to subscribe. Listen again next week for the newest episode.
Check show notes for a transcript and a link to resources, including a link to let us know if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast.
Thank you for listening and going on this journey with us back to the true you.